Hey friends, I just had a lesson, taught a lesson with one of my longtime students. Wonderful, wonderful person, fantastic musician. And we touched on something that I've spoken about many times when I teach. I suspect I've talked about it here. But it's something that I came to kind of later in my life study of music, because when I was younger, I remember learning pieces of music and essentially ignoring the dynamics, completely ignoring them. And I'm sure that this was much to the consternation of my teachers and my dad, who usually sat next to me during practice, at least during the early years, that I just didn't even seem to know they were there. Like, they were these extra markings on the page that just got in the way of the notes. I truly didn't. And when I would then be instructed to, pay some attention to dynamics, I would just like tune it out. And I don't know why I have such a vivid experience of the vivid memory of this, but I literally remember just being like, no, I don't need to do that. or maybe it was more like, oh, I hate doing that. It's the worst part. That's the part of the music that I really don't like. And the reason was that if you're trying to play a piece of music, especially once you've kind of learned it a certain way, and then someone says, no, play that part much quieter, or play that part much louder, or put a crescendo in this section, or a decrescendo, it makes it a lot harder. It's like this added layer of thinking that we have to do, and execution, that is it's a stunningly high hurdle. If our kind of baseline of playing of the piece is kind of compulsive, kind of unconscious, we just do it the way we do it, then all of a sudden changing something, even if you're not changing any of the notes, or you're not changing the tempo, you're just changing dynamics or articulations, like whether a note is staccato, whether a phrase is played legato, if there are accent points in the phrase, all those things you're not changing the notes, you're just changing the articulations. Well, that can completely derail you if you haven't worked on it, and if it's something that we think of as simply a technical modification, like play louder, play softer, play these notes shorter, these notes disconnected, these notes connected, whatever, there's a kind of frustrating degree of difficulty to it. And I think this is what I was reacting to as a kid. I was like, no, don't make me do that. I'll learn all the notes, but I don't want to do dynamics. Well, much later in life, I have had the ability, and I've had some great teachers too, but where I've come to with it is that dynamics are really only very, very secondarily concerned with volume, and articulations are really only very, very secondarily concerned with technique, although there are technical aspects to it, but the primary focus, the primary meaning of dynamic markings and of articulation markings is akin to the tone of voice or the actor's intention with which we would deliver a line of text in a play. There's a linguistic intention going on, and the dynamics and the articulations are only ever a very rudimentary a very incomplete signpost pointing in the direction of that intention. They could never, dynamic markings, if you added enough dynamic markings to really truly delineate the whole intention behind a phrase, they would completely clutter the page. They would absolutely overwhelm the music, and they'd make it impossible to read. And not only that, but they would be imposing an awful lot of unnecessary and sort of weighty restrictions on the performer. Way better to just add some little signposts that point in the direction of the intention and assume that the performer is going to bring their own humanity and their own understanding, their own just like consciousness, their own willingness to invest themselves in the meaning of the music enough to then bring that out, to discover that and bring that out. And when we do it that way, when we take that approach, all of a sudden, it's not so hard to execute. All of a sudden, the difficulty of adding dynamics or playing the articulations all but goes away, because rather than being something that is added to the thing that I already kind of know how to do, and now I have to do it differently or change it. So in other words, it feels like something externally imposed. It becomes something that's prior to the playing of the phrase. It actually becomes part of the generative energy that's making the phrase happen. So that's much, much easier for our hand to execute, because now there's an impulse coming through the hand, there's an intention coming through the phrase that's coming from deep within us, and our hand is just the sort of final tool that's expressing this, rather than having it kind of top down, other way around, like having something that we add to the musical phrase to make it a certain way that it's supposed to be. And I was working on a section of a piece with my student today, and we sort of had this moment where we kind of discovered what the intention behind a whole kind of like, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 bar section was. And not only is it really fun to discover that, because it's like all of a sudden a piece of music, a Mozart sonata, becomes like a play or an opera where we really see images. We have intention going on underneath the music, and that's something that once that's there, those images are so big and they're so compelling that it's very, very easy to use them to fuel the performance. They don't have to, it's not all of a sudden like clearing a hurdle or adding a bunch of technical difficulty to something that's otherwise easier. It's no, this is what I'm saying. This is what this phrase is saying. It would be harder to have a phrase of text to be or not to be, that is a question, and then be told that you have to say it louder or say it with a crescendo or say it with a rising act. Hey, sweet pea, I'm doing my video post. Come here. What? Did the movie end? Your movie ended? We're watching movies today. We're home with Papa doing lesson. Come here.
What about Spirit and the Free?
We can talk about it in just a minute. Let me finish my video post. I'm almost there. Okay. Is the movie over?
No.
Did you pause it?
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse the interruption. But I mean, if you're a musician, then this is maybe kind of obvious, or maybe not obvious. But I find it such a satisfying thing to feel and to recognize again and again and again, every time I recognize it, it's like, oh, right. You know, if you were giving the to be or not to be speech and you were being told how to, you know, that you have to get quieter here and then you have to kind of like close your body and then you have to like expand and then make this larger, and then that would be a nightmare. It would be like the whole speech would be a minefield of difficult kind of like somehow imposed restrictions on the delivery of the meaning of the words. But you get inside the intention, you get inside what's happening in that text, and all of a sudden a lot of those things are going to happen on their own. And once they're happening on their own, then you can say, can you bring that out even more? Right? Once the underlying intention is there, then it's like, can you unpack that and make it bigger? Give me 1 second, I'll be right there.
But I need to wipe me.
I know. You're getting a full picture of the Holloway household today. That is my revelation slash re-revelation of the day, because I just had such a fun time discovering that today, and help watching a student discover that and feeling her kind of like enjoy the music in a whole new way, but because all of a sudden setting these intentions and figuring out these possible characters that are having a dialogue within the piece is just such a fun process, and it takes learning the dynamics and turns it into this playground of joy, and like, and all of a sudden the music just flies out. The music just it's begging to be executed in this way. So anyway, I'm enjoying that. I'm reminded of that. I'm offering that to anybody who's either working on music yourself or teaching people. It's a really fun way to enter into what some of those, just the sort of detailed markings on a piece of music, and how to really get underneath them. Wow! I have a little girl here pushing me around in my chair. You gonna say hi? You gonna say hi?
Who are we talking about? Who are we talking?
I'm talking to my friends in the video post that I do every day. But I was talking about the lesson that I just taught, which was very fun. Very fun. We're home today. We were playing music earlier too, weren't we?
Yeah.
You were playing. You had a really, really good focusing session this morning. You learned more than half of a brand new piece, right? Wah! Wah!
Okay.
All right, folks. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. You want to say anything, hon? Okay. We're going to go probably watch another movie. Papa's going to teach another lesson. One of those days. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll tune in again. Appreciate you.